No one else has ever done this before.
Ivan, it's time.
Hi, I'm Ivan.
I'm Nick.
And this is the DIY Detail Podcast. Yes, it's that time of year. Some of you are thinking Halloween. Some of you are thinking holidays. No, it's time for SEMA, the biggest trade show in the industry, or one of the biggest trade shows in the industry, where companies go there to showcase new things. And we're one of those companies going to showcase new things. Our booth number, just so you know, 12747, easy to find in the North Hall, pretty much central in the North Hall, so you'll be able to find us easily. And, you know, a lot of other great companies there as well. And SEMA is just a big party for some people. And for a lot of people, it's an educational trip. And it's one for me, I've been going for decades now. It's a great chance to catch up with people, to meet people, but also to see what's happening in the industry, to sort of get a glimpse of the future of the industry. That's what happens at SEMA.
In this podcast, we're going to unveil our new cordless polisher. We're going to talk about new products coming out. Basically, as if you were coming to SEMA. That's what this podcast is about. It's a tease because there may be more at SEMA than we reveal in this podcast, but we're going to give you all that we can right now. We want you to get excited about this stuff. And the reality is most people who listen to this won't get to the show. There were years where I kept hearing about SEMA before I ever made it to a show, Ivan. And so I wonder if we could promise some value from this podcast for folks who have no plans on going and they're like, why should I care?
Right. Well, first of all, SEMA, like I mentioned, is fun. If you're a car person, car guy, car gal, SEMA is one of those once in a lifetime things that you have to try to make it there at least once. Yes, it's in Vegas. I'm not a fan of Vegas, but anyways, I don't gamble and, things like that. But SEMA is just a great show. And whether you're into hot rods, whether you're into new cars, whether you're into overlanding, there is something there for everyone as long as it has to do with a vehicle. There's a whole hall full of tires. There's a whole hall full of tools. It's just everything. And there's Hot Rod Alley. There's new car manufacturers. There's parts, there's all sorts of things. And of course, there's the restyling section, which is what we're in, which means PPF, it means tint, it means paint, it means detailing. And, a lot of the detailing companies are there. Some years they go, some years they don't. It's a up and down thing. If you don't have much to present, then there may not be a good reason to go to SEMA. It's an expense, and it's something that, for us, one of the primary reasons for going to SEMA to introduce the new tools, but also to get more worldwide distributors, because it is a worldwide show. There's people coming in from all over the world to see what SEMA has to offer, and hopefully we can get distributors for those of you that are in countries that we're not represented in yet.
Every day we get questions from folks around the world. How do I get your products in fill in the blank country?
Right.
There's Automechanica in Frankfurt, Germany. There's Waxstock in the UK. Where does SEMA rank worldwide in terms of car shows?
Automechanica is a little bigger. Waxstock is very small.
Okay, I just know I've heard of it. I haven't been to any of them besides SEMA.
No. So Waxstock is great. It's a fun show, but it's very compact, very quick. It's not a 4-day show like SEMA. It's not a week-long show like Automechanica. Automechanica has in Germany. They also have in the United Arab Emirates. So Automechanica has two. I've been to Automechanica in India. They have one there as well. So Automechanica tends to move around. In China, there's the Canton Fair, which is one of my bucket list items. But there's a lot of shows like this. But SEMA in North America is by far the biggest one. And what it does is it puts together like-minded people. And, the people that may have never been exposed to detailing are walking through the aisles and saying, oh, what's this? And et cetera. Now, if you're going there to look at the cars, there's all sorts of cars at SEMA. From a detailer's perspective, it's not that great. There's a few booths that the cars are really nice and shiny. There's other booths that you look at from 5 feet away, the car looks great. Look at it with detailer's eyes and you're going, ooh, it's not fun. So go for the build and how they design the car and how they, apply the accessories, everything to it. Don't look at the paint quality. That's been a deception for a lot of detailers going to SEMA thinking they're going to be seeing perfect paint everywhere. SEMA is not where you're going to find it.
And I've watched influencers with, maybe hundreds of followers who go to SEMA, who are influencers on the rise. They're trying to make a name, online. And now they have positions with companies. And I met him at SEMA just last year. And so it is a great way to network, to meet people, to meet the interesting faces that you've seen in the industry. So if you're just like, I don't have a huge channel, should I go? It's an investment, but I think you're an investment, right? So invest in yourself or whatever that means. Anyway, once in a lifetime for sure, even if you just go once. The first time I went, I was cajoled to go. I wasn't feeling good. I was feeling sick. A friend said, I'll get you in for free. And I went and I interviewed Mike Phillips for the Hawk Pro Detailing channel, did a profile on him, obviously a legend in the detailing space, and then met a bunch of other folks that I'd always networked with online, and it was really life-changing. And then the next year that I went, I think it was with you, right?
Yeah.
When we had just started DIY, but we were just kind of walking around, and that was different. And then last year was different, and now finally have a booth. So you can kind of mark like the years, your kids are growing up, like your SEMA years. They kind of help you to mark the time and reflect on where you've been. With that said, Ivan, where do we go in this conversation as it relates to people listening? Why should they care? Let's give them some news they can use.
Nick, where we're going with this is, like you said, we want to give a teaser for SEMA, but at the same time, we know that most of you will not be coming to SEMA. There's a lot of people that watch our podcast and listen to our podcast. They won't be coming to SEMA. And those of you that are listening on the podcast apps, thank you. Leave a comment, leave a review if you can. That's great. And in the YouTube version of it, please leave a comment and you'll be seeing things. And I'll try to explain this as graphically as I can in order to, for those that are just listening in an audio format to get what I'm talking about. So I'm going to back my camera up a little bit. So Nick, here it is, finally. It's been 5 years in the design process. I've been building it for a year, working with the factory to, back and forth with prototypes. But we finally have, actually, I don't have it in hand. It's coming, it's, in transit right now from our manufacturer in China, and it's going to our friend John in Las Vegas, John from C6 Ceramics. He'll be bringing it to SEMA. But in the meantime, this is the last hand-built prototype that I've made, and it's pretty much a carbon copy of what we're going to be doing. So this is our cordless tool. Now, you'll notice something very different about it, the battery placement. And that's actually patent pending, the battery placement, because no one else has ever done this before. And the reason I did this, a couple basic reasons. First of all, if you'll notice on most pictures, or if you have a cordless tool, you probably hold it by the battery, because a lot of companies, let me take the battery out of here. A lot of companies, the battery is there. And this handle is much shorter. So you'll notice that the spacing from the spindle, so the center of the spindle to the center of the, let me use my fingers here, to the center of the switch is a set distance. This is within a 1/4 inch of our corded tools. A lot of cordless tools, the handle is here. So your hands are very close together, and that's an uncomfortable way of holding a tool. And that's why most people, they grab the battery. Now, grabbing the battery, that's fine. It works, but now your hand is away from the trigger. So if for some reason you need to shut the trigger off, then you can't do that. You have to move your hand to physically do that. And, if someone is, got their t-shirt caught in it, or God forbid their hair caught in it, you need to get to that trigger quickly. Also, it's just better control over the machine. The machine is designed to mimic a corded tool in every sense of the word when it comes to ergonomics, just without the cord. So the balance of the tool, so without the battery, this is what it looks like. And then when we add the battery on, that's what it looks like. So a lot of people, we've had this tested by a lot of people. And one of the people, their main concern when they saw it, not when they used it, but when they first saw it, I won't be able to see what I'm polishing. Well, in reality, you see quite well what you're polishing because the battery is not in the way of the pad. So you see where you're polishing the paint, the battery sort of disappears. It's not in your way visually. It's not in your way physically. It's just there. Now, the only time that the battery could get in your way, if you like to hold your machine by the body, one-handed, then yeah, that could be a bit of an issue. But holding it here, like we normally do, I tend to one-hand the machine a lot, and this is how I hold it.
So this one is the same sort of duckbill form that makes it easy to hold with one hand. Of course, you can hold it one hand here as well. And nice and quiet. So there we have it.
One thing is it looks different, but
Very different,
when you actually hold it in your hand, it feels incredibly balanced. And then you're like, I've just been used to all these cordless tools having the battery at the end. Like I just got used to that because that's what I was fed.
Yeah.
So talk about that, where a lot of people are going to look at this and say it just looks different than what I'm used to.
Oh, yeah, it looks very different. So do I. But anyways, nonetheless, the reason it looks different is form versus function. And to me, function was more important than form in the sense of I didn't really care what it looked like. It's how does it feel in your hand? How does it work? How physically is this thing to use? And one of the things that I've always liked the idea of a cordless polisher, but every cordless polisher I've tried has had some issue with the battery. And it's not the battery technology. It has nothing to do with the battery. It's the battery placement. Some of them, the battery is just a few, thousandths of an inch away from the paint sometimes. It's just a little too close for comfort. The other thing is, like I mentioned, your hand placement. So with this, my hands are comfortably spaced apart when I'm using the tool. But for some cordless polishers, your hands are way too close together. And that's why people put their hand away from the trigger and put it at the end of the battery. So they're holding the tool like this instead of holding it like this. And
so they change the way they hold the tool when it's a battery operated polisher.
Right.
They're probably not even thinking about it, but they are.
No.
And that's less ergonomic.
Less ergonomic. And also the weight of the battery. The weight of the battery is not centered over the spindle. So for us, the placement of the battery, I could have put the battery here and I could have put it here and I could have, put it anywhere along this line. This presents the best balance point, and that's why it's there. It has nothing to do with looks or anything like that. Obviously, it's not for looks that we did it.
I mean, it looks kind of cool in its own way.
It has its own little look. It grows on you, but it's one of these things that makes it very different. So like you said, people are going to look at it and go, ooh, people we had testing it, a lot of people, their first reaction was, oh, that's not a good thing. And then they put it in their hands and go, oh, wait a minute. This feels just like my corded tool. And that's the whole point. We've been using corded polishers. They have a certain balance for the last 50, 60 years. Now you have these battery operated tools, and people have a tendency, as far as I'm concerned, to use batteries that are too heavy. They use a 5, a 6, an 8 amp hour battery. I prefer using a lighter battery and changing it out more often. So if I have to change the battery once during a detail, it's not that big of a deal, but I'm not carrying around the weight. When we had the Milwaukee polishers in the shop, we had the 6 amp hour batteries and we had the 4 amp hour batteries. You always reached for the 6 amp hour battery. I always reached for the 4 amp hour battery. And
just on instinct, just on
just
more
on
is
instinct.
better. More is better.
More is better. But the balance and the weight make a difference. Now, ours is a 4 amp hour battery, a 20 volt system, and we're not sure whether we're going to call it a 20 or an 18 volt. It's 100% a marketing play, because everyone that has a 20 volt battery is actually an 18 volt battery, but they call it 20 volts because that's the maximum voltage. Now, it's a nominal 18 volts, but a maximum of 12, like your car battery. We say your car battery is a 12 volt battery. In reality, when it's charging, it's at 13.6. It's not at 12. And if your battery is at 12, it's almost dead at that point for a car battery. So that's quite low. But we call it a 12 volt battery, and that's a nominal, like a 2x4. 2x4 is not 2x4. It's 1.5 inches by 3.5. So it's one of those things that it's just an industry way of calling it. So we're calling it a 20 volt, 4 amp hour battery. The manufacturer's specs are actually a 20 volt, 5 amp hour. But in my testing, it was closer to 4.8. So I rather call it a 4 than a 5, just to be completely above board. And battery technology is there. It's good. They're Samsung cells, so they're a good quality battery. But you have that
degradation that happens with the battery over time. So when you buy it brand new, yes, it might be exactly 5 amp hours, but in a year or two, it'll be down to, 4.5, something like that. So I rather promise little, give more.
Do we want to continue talking about the polisher? Stop there? Go as far deep down the rabbit hole as people have an appetite for? What are you feeling right now, Ivan?
Well, some of the questions we have about the pad or about the tool.
Oh, the what?
Rotary.
The what? Is that a tease?
Yeah, no, as a slip up, but yes, it is a tease. We'll be talking about that in a second. I don't have an example of that one to show yet, but basically the tool will have a 25 millimeter DA and our rotary. And the rotary uses the same technology as we have in our corded rotary, meaning a double gear set. So we have a high gear reduction, and we'll be able to maintain the speed rating that we have on ours. So 600 to 2,500 RPM, which is something that in a single gear rotary, battery operated, a lot of them, they either start very high, like at 1,000 RPM, or they don't go much past 2,000 RPM. The Milwaukee that we had was 800 to 2,200, which is actually not a bad range. But that 2,200 was a little slow when we were using the pad washer to get all the moisture out of the red jeweling pad. On the yellow pad, on the wool pad, it was fine. That's enough speed. But you need at least 2,300 or 2,400 RPM to get that red pad to the point where we like to use it.
Yeah, we want the high RPMs just to spin out our pad in the pad washer. And then we want pretty low, as low as you can go on our machine at 600.
Yeah.
Because that's optimal for when we polish with the rotary jeweling pad. Yeah.
Right. And our battery powered rotary will have the same speeds as our corded rotary. Same thing with the DA. They're matched. So the corded and rotary, or the corded and cordless tools, will not have a difference in speed, will not have a big difference in torque, will not have, they're brushless motors. They're, the latest generation of brushless motors. So lots of torque, very strong. And the way we teach to polish, you don't need a strong polisher. We're not standing on the polisher. We're not making it smoke. We're not, putting 18 pounds of pressure on it. So your battery life is going to be great. The other technology that I really wanted to explore is the battery itself and the battery charging more specifically. So a lithium battery, they can absorb a lot of power quickly up to a certain point. And that's what we've done with our charger. So we can go from 0 to 80% charge in 15 minutes. The other 20% takes another 35, 40 minutes. So, but you can get from 0 to 80% really quick. So you can, if you're on a job and you don't have much battery life left, you can take a break for 15 minutes, or we include 2 batteries with it anyways. But let's say you forgot to put your other battery on the charger, 15 minutes, you're back up and running. And you've got 80% of the charge. And the easy way to explain it is a stadium. So if no one has reserved seating in a stadium and they just open the doors, right? Everyone floods into the stadium, and until about 80% of the people are in, people are fairly good and fairly fast at finding a seat. But then the seats are starting to fill, like the cells in the battery. And now those little electrons are looking, okay, well, there's a seat there. Let me go up there. And then, someone grabs a seat before them. So they have to walk around and find another seat. So that last 20% of the people flooding into the stadium takes them longer to find a seat. It's the same thing with the battery. So we're able to use that technology of flooding the battery with power for the first, 15 minutes or so, get it to 80%, and then slow down the charge. If you have an iPhone, it's the same thing. The iPhone, from 0 to 80%, if you've got a 2 amp charger, takes 15, 20 minutes. But that other 20% can take 2 hours, and ours doesn't take that long, but that gives you an idea. And it's actually better for the battery as well. So, the technology just isn't in the tool. It just isn't in the balance. We also have the technology in the battery and the battery charging.
Because people are going to question our cordless foray. Like, is DIY ready for cordless? Like, how do I know this is going to be worth the money? And is it going to be legit? And is it going to be as good as the other brands or better?
Yeah.
Like, people are going to have these questions. Now, we hope that some of those questions get answered in the fact that our first tools have been just so solid. Like, I haven't heard anyone complain. I mean, I literally haven't heard people complain about our tools ever.
We've had one warranty so far. That's it.
And you don't hear anybody online who bought the tool be like, it's a piece of junk. I don't need it. It's like, no, this does exactly what we say it's going to do. We didn't promise it was the sexiest tool under the sun. We said this was built to last and do it exactly like we said, time and time and time and time again. And if you have an issue, we have videos online on how to actually take care of those before you send them in, if that's going to save you some time as well. So hopefully the education side of this is really coming through to folks that we want these to work like we say.
Yeah, and same thing with the cordless tools. Like I said, I've been designing this for 5 years, and there are some things that I couldn't do with older cordless technology. Before the advent of the brushless motor, which they've been around for 3 or 4 years, but now we're into the second generation of brushless motors. They're smaller, they're more compact, and they're more powerful.
What is a brushless motor for someone out there who has no idea what you're talking about?
So on our corded tools, we have brushes, and those are pieces of carbon that bring the electricity into the rotor or the rotating part, and that's how it works. The brushless motor uses magnets instead. So it's just a different technology. It's a little quieter, first of all. Secondly, longer lasting, and they work. They just work very well. When I was, back in the 80s, I used to work for Portacable and R&D, and we had a cordless drill at the time that was called the Magnet Quench. And it was a brushless technology. And this dates back to the 80s. So brushless technology isn't new. It's just no one's really incorporated into drills because it was very expensive. And that, those first Magnet Quench drills from Portacable, if someone remembers back that far, they were very expensive. And they sold actually fairly well. But they were way ahead of their time in terms of the motor technology involved. And that's what I was looking for, something, to replicate that technology. We have that now. It's more common. It's more mainstream. So it's a nice way of progressing. The other aspect, like I said, we've been working on this for a while. This isn't new to us. It's not like we went and took a off-the-shelf unit and said, okay, we're just going to put our name on it. You can tell by the shape of it, it's like no one else's. So it is definitely our own product. Now, the other thing that's our own product is our new pad washer. And
you don't have the prototype with you, right?
No, the prototype, it's still printing on my 3D printer. So it's actually for a 3D printer, it's sort of a big part, and I've been having a little issues there. Some of you are really into 3D printing, give me a call. But anyways, so with 3D printing, and no, they're not going to be manufactured by 3D printing. Not a good idea.
That would not be a good business model.
No. So we're co-developing this with a company that everyone knows, and that's GritGuard. So GritGuard will be the manufacturer actually making our pad washer, and it will be available exclusively through us for a little while, and then we'll make it available. We'll make the design available to other companies as well if they want to brand it under their own name. But in the beginning, it'll be co-branded DIY Detail and GritGuard. They're providing the technology as far as making the molds and actually making it. We didn't want something made in China. Plastic parts in China, some are good, some are not. But the shipping expense actually outweighs any sort of price advantage we could have from China, because a pad washer is a voluminous thing. It takes up a bit of space. They're not small. So one of the things that we're doing is it's a very simple pad washer. And when I say simple, there's no moving parts. And we don't even include a bucket with it. We're just sending you the pad washer itself that you can put on your favorite bucket. So if you like an orange bucket, a blue bucket, a white bucket, a red bucket, a green bucket, whatever bucket you want, they're pretty much, a 5-gallon bucket is pretty much industry standard as to its size, and it just clips onto that. And then from there, it's up to you. So the pad washer, one of the big design criteria for me was to properly clean the pad. And the way it does it is the base of the pad washer is not a flat piece. It has bumps in it, and we've done a lot of prototypes to get the bumps the right size, the right height, etc. And what those bumps do is when you're running the pad up against it, first of all, they're rounded, so they're not going to be tearing at your pad. They're not going to be damaging your pad, but they actually create a pumping action within the pad. So the moisture that you have on your pad, it's being pumped and driven deeper into the pad as you're doing this. And when you spin it out, it expels it. So what we're doing is forcing the liquid in, pumping it, and then putting it out. And we're not reusing the same liquid. We have a sort of a little different delivery method for the liquid, and that, we'll premiere that later. But
okay, so we're just giving them a little teaser now.
We're giving you a tease.
Yeah.
One of our other design criteria is to make it affordable for the do-it-yourselfer. Now, the Lake Country Pad Washer is a great machine. I've been touting its virtues for years, and I'm still going to. It's a great machine, but price-wise, it's a little expensive. And the other thing is, we're an international company, and the Lake Country Pad Washer is not easy to ship because they ship it with a bucket. It's a large, it's a large box. It's very lightweight. There's not much in there. It's a large box, and that volume of shipping is very expensive. We can ship 15 of ours in the space of one of the Lake Country. So it's going to make it.
Yeah. You don't think about it at home, but it's just a lot of space that it takes up.
Yeah. Shipping is expensive. So we've tried to reduce the shipping cost. We've tried to reduce the cost, the complexity, while still providing great cleaning of the pad. And we've been able to do that thanks to the help of our friends at GritGuard. And, GritGuard, if you've ever met them, they'll be at SEMA. They're just a lovely family-run company. Great people. I know the parents, and now it's the kids taking over. So it's just great people to work with, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this, this product. One of the things
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to ask people a question.
Okay.
Some people, for some reason, don't like the color of our gold tools. They're gold. The gold standard. Should our pad washer be red and black, or should it be gold and black? Leave your comments below.
Good question.
Yeah.
And we will listen to those as we do on every comment, for sure. All right, another product that I wanted to get to, I don't want to go on this too long, but, we've been talking about DIY Details coming out with the wax for a long time.
Yes. We've been talking about it for almost 2 years now.
We started the company.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's finally here. One of the concerns that I had with bringing a wax to market was ease of use. So can you use it in direct sunlight? What happens if you get some on the trim? All things that we consider with a wax. So you can wax your trim with it.
You can glass.
You can wax glass. You can wax the whole exterior of the vehicle. You can do it in direct sunlight. It's not that big of a deal. It wipes off quite easily. The other thing is waxes tend to have separation. And this is a liquid wax. It's not a paste wax. But they tend to have separation. And you look at them in the bottle, and you've got this sort of liquidy, oily layer on the top, and then you have some other layer. And then we've been trying to get it to stay in one homogeneous liquid. And we've managed to do that. So I'm not saying that in 2 years it may not have separated, but if you're using it every couple months, then yes. Now, one thing we're not touting with our wax is durability. It's a true carnauba wax. So durability is not there. Carnauba, no matter how you do it, it's not going to last. And we're not saying it's going to last. We're not touting that. What it does do is fill. And that to me is the secret and the nice part of a wax. You've got a show to go to, and your car is not as glossy as you want it to be. You don't have time, or you don't want to polish it.
Or maybe you've never polished before and you don't feel comfortable with that, right?
Exactly. Wax is a great way of filling. Wax has its place in our industry. It is not dead. As my little tagline below there, wax is not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. I still have a few ideas up here. But wax is
a lot of ideas, Ivan.
Yeah. But wax is one of the things that I've been wanting to bring to the market for a while, but wanted to do it our way. And that is simple, easy to use, no fuss, no stress, and it does what it says it's going to do.
And that's what we're all about. Doing what we say we're going to do and having our products do the same. Very excited for that. And obviously more to come, folks. They're going to want to know all kinds of things, Ivan, and we'll have videos. We will.
Yes.
But I did want to mention one other development, and it's kind of exciting. It's nothing, groundbreaking, but people have been asking for a long time, Ivan, can you get water spot remover into gallons?
Yes. Finally, we figured it out. Yeah, so our water spot gallons should be available maybe even before SEMA. So it's something that we've been working on for a long time, and we finally, have the magic formula to do so. So yes, our water spot remover and a few other chemicals are coming in finally in gallons.
This and more at SEMA Show 2024. Yep. We are so excited to bring that to you. If folks have questions about what we've mentioned, leave them in the comments below here on YouTube. We'll answer them. Ivan, I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and I'm excited to read them because they'll give me ideas on what kind of videos we should make. That's how this all works. When you ask us questions, you let us know what you're thinking. Then we have a sense of how we can best educate because we know what it is you don't have full clarity on, right?
Yeah, we love answering your questions. That's what we do. We have, of course, YouTube here. We have our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is up to 54,000 members, and it's just a great place to share. If you're happy with what you did, post a picture. We want to know about it. And if you have a question, by all means, post your question. People are there to help. They're not there to put you down. They're not there to, say, oh, well, you're a newbie, you shouldn't be doing this. No, it's, hey, how can we help you? And that's what the whole goal of the group is.
And if you're coming to SEMA, if you can't, make it to SEMA, we get it. Find us in the Facebook group. But, you should be joining the Facebook group regardless. But if you're coming to SEMA, please come and say hi. It'll be fun. I've never done the booth thing before, Ivan. You have, and you say it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. Long days.
It is, yeah.
But I'm excited for it.
12747 in the North Hall. So come and see us there. A lot of other good companies in the North Hall. The West Hall is the hot spot for detailing. The North Hall is for first time, people that are first time showing their wares at SEMA. So we're first year. So of course we're not going to be in the West Hall, but nonetheless, last year, actually the West Hall or the North Hall, was sort of the hot spot. The West Hall wasn't, they had all the big companies there, but there's more going on and happening in the North Hall than in the West Hall. So hopefully it's the same this year. Hopefully we'll see you there. And during the week of SEMA, stay tuned to our YouTube channel. Stay tuned to our Instagram and Facebook. We'll be posting updates. Nick will be walking around talking with people, showing, what's new, what's not new, what's happening in the industry. So, we're not just going to be showing our stuff at SEMA. We'll be showing, showcasing other products as well.
Ivan, if they're intrigued, is there a video that you think they should watch?
Well, there's always a video on polishing people should be watching. So,
and that video, folks, is right here.